G'day guys, my name is Lord Tomo, and welcome again to another Sonic the Hedgehog toy item collectible review. As you already know, I am Lord Tomo, and we have the good old blue star here, good old Sonic the Hedgehog. Seems to be composing of sorts with a pen, who really knows. Now this actual item is an item that I'll show you what it is, and I'll give you a little bit back history here. This item I actually saw as a kid, way a couple of years ago, roughly about 1993, 1994. Back when the prime of the Sega Mega Drive here in Australia was basically at its prominent stage. Now this item, which is basically a Sonic the Hedgehog bubblegum, I'm going to call this a bubblegum pack or case. I'll play around with the words over there. But yeah, this item basically I saw in my retailer when I was a small kid, and my mother actually bought me one of those little those little Sonic the Hedgehog Spencers. I'll show you what they are, of course, but they're little Sonic the Hedgehog Spencers where you can actually take out the candy and you can mess around with them. Now, just to give you a little brief history, just because this has some sort of sentimental value to me, to an extent, of course. As a kid, obviously, growing up, I obviously enjoyed Sonic, and when my mum purchased those pencils, I think at the time they were like $1, I was super ecstatic. I even had a little Sonic deck and I had it in my collection. You could say to an extent it was basically just for the most part my first collectible piece, but over the years I've lost track of it, and when I did find it, it was completely destroyed. So initially what I wanted to do was actually purchase the actual Spencers again and just whack it into my actual collection. This, unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but this actual item popped up as an entirety mint condition, and I was just like, you know what, might as well just get the whole thing. Maybe, whenever I invite a friend over or anything like that, they can basically just have a quick look at it and say, oh yeah, I remember that as a kid. That's more or less the back history of this. It's one of those items where I was just like, you know what, it's great to actually have, simply because of what it is, of course. So that's my 2 cents worth of history behind this. This is more or less the reason why I wanted to get this. And to be directly honest with you, I remembered this differently as a kid for whatever reason. Maybe I was delusional. Not exactly delusional, but I don't know, I just never really remembered the box as much as I remembered the actual candy Spencers of sorts. But yeah, let's talk briefly about the actual box itself. And this is, like I said, mint condition. This was held down by sticky tape, and obviously opened this up just to see all its entirety. And you know what, I'm totally ecstatic about this. As been mentioned, this was roughly released 1993 thereabouts, give or take. I'm pretty sure it was 1990. Yeah, I'm just looking around. Yeah, 1993, I would say. That's when I first saw it as a kid, so I'm just going to assume that it's roughly 1993. So yeah, let's start from the actual top. The actual top itself has a little divided point. Basically, when you open it up, which I'll show you, you can actually divide it, and it basically has like a back lid, which is this part, and a front kind of display piece, which is this front. So whenever you go into the retailer or store, whatever, you can see that and go ahead and buy yourself one, or anything of that nature. So that's what it is. As you can see, this was manufactured by Topps. Now Topps has made other bits and pieces, which of course I will review over time, which is one of these. This is basically a mint condition, basically Topps box, which I will show you more or less what it is. So that's another one, I'll show you another time. So basically, yeah, so this is manufactured by Topps. Just a little small history just before I continue. Topps is just a manufacturer of cards nowadays, but back then they really got themselves involved into various, Sonic merchandise for small bits and pieces. So I guess that was their beginning point to an extent, maybe, I'm not sure. But I'm actually really digging this box straight out of the bat, simply because you have the good old retro Sonic the Hedgehog there, always a plus to have retro Sonic, good old black eyes, everything, and you have obviously Sonic the Hedgehog bubblegum net containers, Hedgehog containers made in China, no surprises. And you have good old Sonic here basically jumping out of God knows what. It's exactly the same from the bottom, exactly the same. At the actual front is basically once again Topps, Sonic the Hedgehog, bubblegum. I like the fact that you have kind of the whole retroness of the Green Hill Zone bottom. It's being used a lot in the 90s, so it's always good to basically see that again. Obviously you have the logos Topps, pretty standard. You have good old Sonic the Hedgehog dashing, which little magical. You could assume that he perhaps got the magical power up, which would explain why to an extent that's that. Actually, on the other side, you have the same exact thing at the front. The only difference is you have good old Dr. Robotnik, good old classic. I'll just show you, look closely. He looks weird to me. I'm not a fan of that art style. They captured his actual egg carrier of sorts, which I think is remarkable. But his actual, you tell me, what are your thoughts of it? I'm not a major fan. It just kind of looks cheap and animated. For those who may not know, this guy appeared in Scrapyard Zone in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, if I'm not mistaken. Or did he? He also appeared in Marble Zone, I'm pretty sure. No, in Scrapyard Zone, he picked up the rocks and destroyed. In Marble Zone, he threw flames on the ground. You could also say, yeah, so Marble Zone is probably much it, which is alright. I like their little, reference to the past of the games. At the back, exactly the same as the front. On the other side, it's exactly the same as the opposite side. So nothing there. At the very bottom, you just basically have little. I'll just flip it around actually. You just have 1993. There you go. The Topps company. Pretty awesome. Standard Sonic the Hedgehog trademark. So to be directly honest, the box in its entirety is absolutely superb. I actually enjoyed this box more than I actually thought I would, to be honest. But it's something that I actually have in my collection. So when people do come over, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I remember that." So it kind of like throws them back to the whole, past sort of thing. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna open this up as best I can so you guys can see. Move it here. There we go. Okay, so ideally the way it's open is on the actual front itself. You just basically slide that open, and that, I'm not going to do it, but you would fold it, and you slide this little piece down into here, which would I wouldn't say activate, but basically gives it the kind of display unit in its entirety. As you can probably tell, it comes with this little black thing. If you're trying to look for a mid-condition version of this, I guess maybe you need this, but this is like, you can do whatever with it you want with it. And this basically how it looks like inside. Now, like I said, I initially wanted to get one of the original Spencers just for my collection. I saw the box itself in its entirety. I was like, you know what, might as well get the whole thing. Now, each Spencer in itself, I'll just take this out. There we go. So this comes with just a plastic bit, nothing too crazy there. And this is what it more or less looks like. Each Spencer is exactly the same as the other one. So I'll just show you one just for, I guess, argumental sake, you could say. So I'm just going to flip this up. So this is the actual Sonic one. Now, a lot of you may or may not remember this. I do remember this back in the 90s. It was something that I thoroughly enjoyed and something that I wanted to get for a long while. I finally picked it up. And he even has the original candy. And pretty much all of them has the original candy, which is awesome. Now, this is I personally feel that, I'm not trying to sound like an elitist by saying this, I personally feel having one of this in your collection, does give it that added spice, that added wow factor to it, simply because it's the retro retro Sonic in his retro pose, like seen in the beginning of the actual the actual game title itself, which I think is definitely a bonus. They even captured his eyes. Even as a kid, that other eye, which is my left, your right, I would assume, just looks a bit, I don't know, demented to me. It just doesn't look right to me for whatever reason. You have his little nose, which is made out of rubber. I remember exclusively that as a kid. I ripped one off as a kid, which is fun. You even have a little belly sticker. You won't be able to see it, but it says gum net. Just basically tells you the actual gum inside it. At the actual bottom, it just has a kind of like a barcode, just to say that you're going to purchase it. So it's even got its original sticker, which is awesome. I guess one of the major perks to this is, though in its simplistic design and not necessarily well painted, even though you got a little groove there and all that sort of stuff, it does really capture Sonic. And to be honest, I'm loving this. I really do. It's something that I always wanted to get, and I absolutely love it. Actually, the actual back, like I said, you can actually move his hand, which is always great to do. And at the actual back, you just have his spikes, which is kind of, trademark. I would have preferred, like I said, now that I'm looking at it, as a kid, I would have preferred if they had like two lines of spikes, kind of like, one here and one there, kind of give them more of a oomph factor, but it's alright. The only downside for those who may or may not know is he's missing something, which is his tail. It's excusable, I know, I can, for the most part I can excuse it, but now that I'm looking at it, I wish they didn't. I wish they added it. And those are his ears, they didn't really color that in. It's pretty much, the same for every single one. But it, like I said, it's pretty cute. It's pretty nice. Even as a display piece, if you have it there, people can really relate to it, which I think is always a plus to this. Now, ideally, the way you would do it, I'm not going to taste the candy. I don't want to die. But you would basically, if I can take this out, I'm sure I can. Yeah, now it looks like a rocker. Yeah. But ideally, you just take out his spike and the candy will come out. It's coming from the back of the head. So if you really want to be sadistic, you can basically make Dr. Robotnik or any other creature blow his head off and the candy come out, which is alright. Not really, but you can say for the most part it is. So yeah, I do like the finer details of the actual fist, which is pretty impressive. So for the most part, like I said, it's something that I always wanted to get, especially now that I'm more obviously an adult. But growing up, it's like I said, it's one of the key things that made me go, oh, I wish I had that. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who can relate to an extent. You know, you always want to buy something that kind of is a reflection to your past, regardless if it's a toy, figurine, merchandise, or anything of that nature. So this was definitely something that I wanted to get. It's pretty awesome that I got it all in its entirety, and it's always impressive to basically get it. Anyway, for me, I could be looking into it. But yeah, this is the actual, I guess, Sonic the Hedgehog bubblegum case review. I'm probably going to swing that and call it that. It's definitely something, if you could pick this up as an entirety, it's totally up to you, to be directly honest. I wanted to, simply because the opportunity arose itself. Would I have been less satisfied if I didn't and just got the little Spencer itself? No, I would have enjoyed the actual thing, you know, for its entirety anyway. The box and everything else that comes in its mint condition is just an absolute bonus. But it's something that you know, like I said, it's something that's really reflective to my past. So I figured it might as well have it for my decent collection. It's definitely a nice pickup, even for the Spencer itself. I know there are a few people, I've seen other people's reviews where they just had the Spencer themselves. And you know what? That's kind of they always had something that I never had. Well, I did, but my one's completely trashed, of course. So it's always something that they had and I never did. And you know, to come across this is a one-off and a chance. So I said, why not? Now I did buy this pack for a little. It was a little pricier than I would have anticipated. I didn't have anything that I bought anyway, so I figured might as well buy this anyway. I got this for roughly about $90, all up, shipping and everything. Pretty decent bargain. So it's definitely something, you know, if you guys want to look out, you're looking roughly at that, you know, ballpark range. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. In rarity, look, I'm gonna probably have to give this maybe 8 stars out of 10, simply because it's hard. If you're going for the Spencer themselves, I'll probably give it 2 stars out of 10 because they do pop up and it's not like it's super rare. The box itself, I never came across it ever. This is there was the first time I came across it, and it was the first time I purchased it. So I'm probably gonna say 8 stars out of 10. Maybe it's elusive, maybe it's not. I'm not 100% sure. What is more rare, obviously, is this you know, tops thing, which I'll review later on. Obviously, I don't know, a couple of weeks or next week, who knows. But yeah, it's definitely something that's, you know, I would probably class as up there. From a collector's point of view, I think it's definitely a nice collector's piece, to be honest. You know, it's not often that you'll come across this that you can actually say, wow, you know, it's a nice size. It's not exactly like it's massive or anything. So it's definitely, you know, my personal opinion, of course, something that you should pick it up. So $90 is roughly the range. Could expect more, could expect less. There's little pencils, you're looking roughly about $5 each. Nothing too crazy. Look for your standard auction websites and what that's more or less how I got this up. Released roughly 1993 in all retailers. Obviously not now because things have changed and it's not mascot wars anymore, it's consoles wars and whatnot. You know, guys, tell me what you think of this review. If you like it, you dislike it. If you want me to request any reviews that you're more or less interested in character wise, if I have it, I'll definitely be happy to more or less review them. You know, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and till next week, speed on and take care, guys.